A teacher teaches. A good teacher explains. The best teacher motivates.
Somewhere we feel there's a lag in how the academics sometimes lags of how fast the industry moves. So what do you believe in this?
Industry is moving very rapidly. Since industry is moving very rapidly, and that's a reflection of change in market dynamics, don't you think that people management is everybody's cup of tea? It is not a mere support function. It has become a strategic partner. There is a concept called family, and this word is often used in an organizational culture.
If people are so much inclined towards using AI, and you spoke about the effective communication, how can we still maintain this? So welcome to Bridging Ideas, Kankana ma'am. We are very glad to have you here today. So we have already heard about you in the last podcast, and in this episode today, like last time when we spoke with you, we discussed a lot about human potential, the leadership qualities, and about AI, and especially about Robina Sangeet. So the question is, we will dwell into those, but we'll also move into other aspects of your life. You have the things that I feel has not been touched is about you being an author, you being someone who worked from corporate and moved into academics. So why would that journey happen? What was this? So let's start with that. Like, if I talk about your journey from a corporate world to academics, was this an accident, or I know you've already spoken about it, or was this a very like a long thought? Because academic journey is not an easy journey. It takes a lot of patience. It takes a lot of commitment.
Thank you so much, Shriroy, for giving me the opportunity to come here and interact with you and your channel, Bridging Ideas. I like the name of your channel, Bridging Ideas, wonderfully named. I must appreciate that. And as you have asked me about my journey or transition from corporate to academics, it was completely a choice. It was a choice, not a well thought of choice. I shouldn't say that it was a very long thought of choice, but it was kind of compulsive. It was kind of impulsive, not compulsive, impulsive. And I just got the opportunity to serve my alma mater, and I'm a passionate teacher, I can tell you that, because at a very young age, I have read one article in which it was written that a teacher teaches, a good teacher explains, the best teacher motivates. So from the very beginning, it was very much there in my mind that if I can motivate my students, then I'll be happy. Only teaching them for the sake of earning money was never my intention. I enjoy getting into the classroom, interacting with the students, with the vibrant young minds, and I love to add some sort of value to their existing knowledge base.
Good. So as you said, this is very motivating, that a teacher should be the one who motivates someone. And it's very true, because when we grew up, we used to see our teachers and we used to get motivated, like the way that the passion they carried to, I would say, to bring the best in us.
Yes.
And this is what we feel, that we say, okay, till date when some of them are not there, but when we meet any of our old teachers, we like, yes, these are the people who we have that kind of gratitude for them.
Yes.
So if I talk about your journey, right, like your corporate journey, and then because you were an HR, you were leading in multiple organizations in that field. So when you want to connect between these two, like how a corporate works and how academics work, because in our industry, what we have seen in today's world, we see that somewhere we feel there's a lag in how the academics sometimes lags of how fast the industry moves. So what do you believe in this?
I completely believe in this. And there has to have an industry-academia collaboration, starting from curriculum designing to designing of the pedagogy of teaching, to developing the skill sets, industry-ready skill sets of the students, and ultimately to facilitating their placement process. So everywhere industry academia collaboration is required. Otherwise, what will happen is these two fraternity will perform segregatedly. So that shouldn't happen. Unless there is a proper interaction between these two, unless the academia does the proper gap analysis, unless they do the proper requirement analysis, what exactly the industry needs, they cannot inculcate those skill sets to the individual students. Second thing is, it has to be a continuous process. And if I go by, say, 70-30 rule or say a 50-50 rule, then 50% ownership should be with the industry, 50% ownership should be with the academics. Why I am telling you this? Because I am coming from a business school. I am teaching in a business school for the last 22 years. So I have understood that with time, and as you have very rightly said, industry is moving very rapidly. Since industry is moving very rapidly, and that's a reflection of change in market dynamics. Since industry is moving very rapidly, the requirements in terms of skill sets is also moving very rapidly. And it is very difficult for the academia to cope up with the ever-changing dynamics of the industry-ready skill sets. So that is why I said that it has to be a continuous process, and the onus is lying with both of them. Industry cannot blame the academia that the kind of products you are generating are not industry-ready. And at the same time, academia cannot blame the industry that we are producing something which you are not taking. It has to be a collaborative approach, as I have mentioned, starting from the curriculum design, because curriculum design is of extreme importance. Curriculum or the program curriculum design is a true reflection, should be a true reflection of the kind of industry-ready skill sets industry is looking forward to. That is why nowadays, for every academic institution, it is kind of mandatory to come up with the course objectives and then the course outcomes. Because only coming up with the course objectives is not enough. You have to check what are the course outcomes, means what are the learning outcomes of your students. And if these learning outcomes are not in line with your program outcomes, and your program outcomes are not in line with the industry requirements, then your program is not an industry-ready program.
So this is a very right thing, because it's not the program objectives, but it's also about the program outcomes that should be linked together.
Correct.
My question here is like, for most of the people, because as you said, it's very true. Everybody knows. So when you, like, let's say the idea should be when an academic institution sits and builds this program, they should involve the industry leaders.
Absolutely.
To make sure that they are filling those gaps that are required. And how often are this, like this program, I know there are a lot of short-term programs and all this comes up, but from let's say from a generic program, which is a part of the curriculum, which is a generic one, do those base programs or the I would say the core programs, do they also get an update on a regular basis?
See, if I am allowed to talk about this, and if I'm talking about business schools, which are private institutions, autonomous institutions, so they enjoy the liberty of regulating their curriculum quite often. So there is no hard and fast rule that after 2-3 years, academic council will sit and university senate, with the university senate approval, the program will get regulated. For a private academic institution, autonomous institution, they can, if they want, can regulate their curriculum in line with the industry requirements very frequently, even twice or thrice in a year. No one is stopping them to do that.
Correct.
And that's very scientific. If they do that, they will survive. If they don't do that, then an autonomous institution, which is a standalone institution running only one program or two programs, the institution may not survive.
That's a good one because, yeah, at the end of the day, it becomes difficult to cope up. It becomes difficult to survive. And as I said, at the end of the day, it is something that we have no control over because the thing is, if we are not able to identify the outcome and measure it, we will not be able to bring the next generation of future leaders or future workers who would be able to survive in this industry.
Absolutely.
You started as your career started, when you started your career, you were in an HR field. Now, what happens there is when you start as an HR was all about people management. They used to talk about it that you're a people manager, you're managing people, you're managing employees and all these things. And things have changed over the day. There have been a lot of changes that has come, and it has become like you're no more a employee, you're not longer looking into people management or employee management, you're looking into resource management. The term from employee to resource has totally changed. Now everybody is like a P&L statement that has been said and has become a resource. What do you think that this has degraded over the time? Because even the job description has also changed a lot.
Yeah. So that's a very interesting question, Shujoy. My perspective to this question is, as you started with this note that people management, don't you think that people management is everybody's cup of tea? At the end of the day, irrespective of your domain of expertise, at the end of the day, you are a people manager.
True.
And people are the resources that we have realized over time, because they are also contributing. Not they are also contributing, but they are the most important resources for the organization because they make the other resources operational, functional. That is why human resources are of so much importance in today's world, and it is not a mere support function. It has become a strategic partner. So if you look at the Silicon Valley, you will see that at least 20 to 30% of the Silicon Valley CEOs are actually CHROs. So HR has become a strategic partner. At the same time, you can make use of these human resources in a way that their contribution is not only fetching you benefit that you are achieving your organizational goal, they are also acting as a partner for you. So they take the ownership of their responsibilities. They feel that it's my company, my job. That is called organizational citizenship behavior. In Tokyo Olympics, we have seen that Japanese, they used to, the Aam Janta of Japan, they used to clean the stadiums right after the match got over. So that's a citizenship behavior. If that sort of a citizenship behavior can be inculcated and is being manifested in your human resources, then they feel it's my company, my job. And that's the role of the leader. And the leader is not determined on the basis of his domain expertise. The leader is determined on the basis of his ability to influence people to come up and contribute towards the business goal. And having said that, it is not only the strategic partner, it is also very much nowadays equipped with digital phenomena.
Correct.
So it's not only the strategic HR, it's digital HR as well. Because one of the enablers for HR is technology. If you don't have the right technology, you cannot manage your human resource functions properly. We don't say that it's management of human resources. The people manage themselves nowadays. They need supervision, fair enough. But what do we manage? We manage the human resource functions. And for that, if we can't reduce the time, if we can't improve the throughput, if you can't improve the ROI, then of course nothing is being achieved. And for that, very rightly you have said, measurement is the key. If we don't measure something, we don't know whether it is success or failure. If we can't see success, we cannot reward it.
True.
If we can't see failure, we cannot rectify it. So measurement is the key. So in HRM also, we can come up with a lot of measures, very, very interesting measures, with which you can successfully improve your HRM functions.
So this is something that you really touched on a note where you speak about the HR, the nuances that the job carries and how the mindset has changed over the period of time. Now, if I talk about this mindset thing, now people have the entire scenario has changed, right? Whether it's in terms of academics, in terms of corporate. So do you see this mind shift, as you said, spoken about the Japanese people, the mindset shift has already happened because this is how the culture is. This is how they have the morality of that entire society is. That they know that once they go there, if somebody is littering, it's my job to even clean their part because these are my people. The day you have this, because in corporate we have overused the word of family. When we say family, what we do is we usually use that term to cover a lot of things and then use this people as like use that numbers or the people as scapegoat to get the like the decisions that the leadership does. Like in case of what we are seeing today is AI has been made a scapegoat to cut a lot of jobs. Whether the company is implementing it or not, it doesn't matter. Now, when you since your journey has been so long and you are right now where you also go and speak about it, you talk about, you do corporate workshops and all those things. Do you see the mindset change in people?
Mindset has definitely changed, and it's a process, it's a journey, so it will take time. As you started with the note that there is a concept called family, and this word is often used in an organizational culture. Why this word is so prominent in an organizational culture? Because when we talk about family, it is directly connected to sense of belongingness. When you use the word, say ABC company, so ABC family, you are not only talking about or taking into consideration the employees whom you have employed. It's also the extended family you are talking about. And that is why when we talk about Tata, we know Tata is famous for HR functions. And a Tata employee takes pride in saying that I'm a Tata employee. Why? Because there is that sense of belongingness, there is that sense of trust. And earlier I mentioned that it's my company, my job. So when we talk about mindset is a two-dimensional process. It's from the employees to the employers. It's also from the employers to the employees, towards the employees. And in the era of AI, as you have rightly said, that AI is being considered as a scapegoat because it is being used to cut short of several people's jobs. To a certain extent, yes. But then again, I have mentioned earlier that what matters is the intention of the business leader. So if that is correct, then of course AI will be used for the right cause.
Sure. In the last episode, when you had discussed and touched upon the competencies that is required in today's date for someone to be enabled in AI, and you spoke about soft skills, and you said and you spoke about soft skills, and you emphasized on communication, and you said effective communication.
Right.
Now, in today's world, we all know, I just wanted to dive deep into that because I know most of the viewers would have these questions because the thing is, when you talk about effective communication, what happens today is what I have personally seen in my corporate journey is you tell 5 people to write 5 emails and they will come with very good emails because they can leverage AI to communicate via writing. But the moment you say the same 5 people to speak about it, and then you know where everyone stands. So what should people prioritize? Because we are dumping our brain to AI. Like for small things, what happens is people have initially started using AI to see, okay, it writes better than me, let me use it. Then they have started leveraging AI just to say, okay, validate what I have written is correct. So it started with that. Then they have given AI the entire thing to write stuff for me, and they have stopped the validation. So what happens is it impacts your communication. So my question is very simple, that if people are so much inclined towards using AI, and you spoke about the effective communication, how can we still maintain this?
Okay, that's a very, very interesting question, I must say. As you have very rightly said, that people are making use of AI in writing the email, and you will find that if you have given this task to 5 employees, they'll come up with wonderful emails. That's the same thing, same kind of situations we are in, because we get to see that when students are given some assignments, they are coming up with brilliant interpretations. So far, it is written. Like they are asked to write down their interpretation. Now, when comes their verbal communication, that is, they are supposed to or expected to clarify and come up with their version of the content that they have written, we see the difference. One skill that makes the difference is, of course, that's what I have mentioned, effective communication skill. But since it was written by AI, you have only written the prompt and the AI generated the answer for you. If you don't relate to the answer, if you don't understand the answer, if you don't analyze on your own, of course, when you are given the chance to verbally explain that, you won't be able to do that. So there lies the difference. And you spoke about competency. So competency, this word is very near to my heart, because this is a very, very interesting area. Why? I'll tell you. In my opinion, competencies are the underlying behavioral characteristics that differentiates a superior performer from an average performer. And we consider competency as a combination of knowledge, skill, and attitude. So I may possess similar level of knowledge that you possess. I may be skilled enough equally like what you possess. But my attitude towards my work and your attitude towards your work could be the difference creator. So whether we will make use of AI in analyzing a situation before we analyze it on our own and come up with the interpretation and deliver it to my professor or to my leader or to my manager, it depends on your ability to interpret things. So AI is interpreting it for you, but ultimately you have to verbally communicate or explain why did you do that, you started with what problem, why did you collect this sort of data, what sort of analysis you have done, and ultimately what's your conclusion on that, and whether your conclusion is in line with the problem statement. That means whether the kind of conclusion or suggestions you are giving is a workable or feasible solution for the company or not. So for that, you need to apply your brain. For that, you need to apply your verbal communication skill, verbal persuasive skill, your vocabulary, your level of understanding should be good. And if it is not that good, if it requires, say, 5 times of reading, others are reading the same content twice, but you have to read it 5 times, do that hard work.
This is very right, because I can totally reciprocate on this, the way you have put it across. Because what had happened with us also when we started writing, right? When we were small and in the school, we used to write a lot of words, and we had to make sure the spellings are not, we don't make any mistakes in the spelling. Then when we grew up, we had a lot of tools that we use where it does spell checker. So people stopped even looking at the spellings. Okay, if I don't do it, the Word document is there, it will just take care of it and it will summarize and it will spell it also. I right click and I can get the right spelling. So and I have seen this degradation. Most of the people that even when they write, they're not bothered about the spelling because they don't even know the actual spelling of the word. And this is where the problem comes in future. I'm using a tool, that's perfectly fine. Tool, I'm not talking about AI tools, I'm talking normal Word document.
Yeah.
The moment, let's say I go somewhere and I start writing something, that is where the problem comes, because I'll make the same spelling mistake because I don't know the spelling.
Right.
And I'm not talking about the vocabulary, that's a different thing. But yeah, the spellings. So this is where I see the next generation struggling.
Right.
People like us, if we are not focusing on those aspects and not sharpening this, after a certain point, we will also be doomed.
Yeah.
So my question to you is, if you are like, today if somebody is hiring, and let's say you are hiring someone, so which will be most important for you? Will it be the attitude that is, as you mentioned, or adaptability, or it will be the excellence or the competencies that they bring in? Which one will be the most important for a factor for you to hire, and why?
Okay. Again, a very interesting question. I think it's a balance between your technical skill, your human skill, your conceptual skill. Technical skill you need to possess, no doubt. Because as you were saying that when we are writing something, we are making use of Grammarly or other tools, we are not bothered about the spellings, and the spellings are getting automatically corrected. At the same time, when we are supposed to write something on pen and paper in front of my manager or in front of my boss, then I'm struggling because I don't know the exact spelling. So that is decreasing your confidence level. Why? Because you are actually allowing the technical tools to dictate you.
Correct.
And you are not allowing, you are not actually dictating the technical tools and to do the task in your terms and conditions. আবার আমি একটু রবীন্দ্রনাথে ফিরে যাচ্ছি।
Absolutely.
রবীন্দ্রনাথের একটি অপূর্ব অনবদ্য একটি প্রোজ, যেটির নাম অসন্তোষের কারণ। সেখানে তিনি বলছেন যে শিক্ষাকে আমরা বহন করিলাম কিন্তু বাহন করিতে পারিলাম না। That means we are carrying the degrees, we are unable to capitalize them. তো এখানেও ব্যাপারটা সেটাই চলে আসছে। So when I'm looking forward to a resource, I'll obviously looking forward to a resource who is having a balance between this technical skill and not overlooking that, because that is very important. If the person is good at Microsoft Excel, Microsoft Word, obviously I'll take him. At the same time, human skill, his ability to interact with others, collaborate with others, and then collaboratively, he is delivering in a team. And also conceptual skill, because all the time he will not be given a task which he is very much acclimatized with or accustomed to. He may be given a task which he has never handled before.
True.
So that will kind of instigate his ability to see the picture beyond the wall, right? So if I'm looking for a resource, I'll be definitely looking for a resource who is having technical skill, human skill, and conceptual skill.
And one thing I really liked from your previous episode, what you said was about empathy. You spoke, because as a leader, I believe that's the most important thing. Having some kind of like, if you're having an empathy, you understand the other people's problem. Tomorrow it might be your team members, it might be your clients, it can be anyone. Now coming to your thing, when you say empathy, in every sector this is very important, but when it comes to industry, we know it has become a very, very challenging situation. I would say it's a very challenging world today's date, where dog eats dog food. It has become in that sense. আমি যদি সেটা বলি, মানে এটা হয়ে গেল, মানে someone is trying to take the other person's job, and that's the job insecurity. It's not the other person is doing it, but everyone is in that kind of a notion. So when you talk about empathy, it should means we talk about leaders being empathetic, but it should be not only top down, it should be bottoms up also. Like everybody should be empathetic to everyone, because once we bring that culture, so in education, when you are in academics, what you're doing, so how much important role does it fit for people like you who have that much of influence to their, as you said, being a teacher should be motivating someone. So do you think, like, because when you amplify this empathy stuff, it actually cascades to your students and they go and showcase this outside?
Absolutely. That's extremely important. And as you have very rightly said, in today's world, empathy is a very, very prominent word, and every leader should be empathetic. And leaders cannot compromise on that. because that has become the basic requirement. Whether you are a people-oriented person or a task-oriented person, irrespective of that, you have to have empathy, and empathy has to be imbibed in your culture. So when, as you have mentioned, that when we talk about organizational culture, it's again a two-way traffic. It's not only coming from top to down, it's also from bottom to up. In order to ensure that it's a two-way traffic, you have to have a very robust and scientific selection process, wherein you are not only focusing on person job fit, you are focusing on person organization fit. Because as you know that if your job description, the roles and responsibilities that are mentioned in your job description and what level of domain knowledge, expertise, prior experience that are required to be present in the candidate that are mentioned in job specification, if these are matching to the skill sets of that candidate, that makes the person job fit.
Correct.
But that doesn't ensure that the person becomes person organization fit. So we go one step ahead. What is that? We also check whether the person's personality is kind of matching with the organizational culture. Because if that is happening or that is getting checked, to a certain extent that is getting ensured, then of course we understand that the kind of personality the person is possessing will be matching our organizational culture. So he will not only contribute to his job role in terms of his ability or skill sets, he will also contribute to this job role in terms of his attitude.
True.
And when we take the classes, when we conduct our sessions, we definitely take this in mind. We check with each and every student. At least I try to find out who are the backbenchers, who are trying to hide their faces, who are the tail enders in terms of result analysis, and who are not doing well. So I try to push them as much as possible so that they rediscover their attitude, they give it a try, and the confidence level improves. They also believe that yes, I can also do that. It's not the task of the first boy, because history proves that the backbenchers are having the best of the innovative ideas, and they are coming up and they are ruling the world. We have seen in several occasions. We have seen college dropouts are coming up with brilliant ideas and executing them. Right? Jack Ma got rejected several times by Harvard Business School. Right. So, interestingly, when Jack Ma was interviewed and he was asked that what sort of resources you were looking forward to, Jack Ma said that I look forward to resources who are smarter than me. And when the interviewer asked, then what's your role? Very interestingly, Jack Ma said that I just want to make sure that smart people work together.
True.
So you can understand that the smart people work together is a challenge, because people are having different opinions. All of them are opinionated. They are intellectuals as well. So there is a chaos, entropy, that's what we have learned in physics and chemistry, Brownian motion.
Correct.
Right? The gas particles are moving randomly because they are not
bouncing,
bound.
yeah, and they're bouncing.
Yeah. As a result, a lot of collisions are happening. So that is the role of a manager. That is the role of the leader. That I just want to make sure that smart people work together. So if the person is not empathetic, do you think it is possible? Right? At the same time, he has to make sure that the entropy is getting converted into synergy, provided this word entropy is very prominently being imbibed in everybody's mind. And that's the part of the organizational culture.
So you spoke about students, you spoke about the empathy factor that they should bring in. And the most important thing in today's generation, or not today's, as being from ages, is every outcome that we see is marks driven. We have the metrics there. If you get good marks, this is what I tell my daughter, get good marks, you'll get into a good college. You get into a good college, you'll get into a good job. And if you want to do something, things are changing. Maybe by the time they grow up and they get into a job, things might be very different. But this has been followed for a very long time. What do you want to say about this? Because you're already in this field, you're teaching. You and I cannot just sit and change things. the academic industry is totally, I won't say academic industry, but I would say the academic sector itself is thinking in this perspective. What can be done to change that mindset?
That's very difficult to answer right at this moment, because it's true that your result is the decision maker. I mean, your result is actually setting up better platform for you.
Correct. Because when you said about Jack Ma, right? You gave the example Jack Ma.
Right.
If we know there are a lot of Jack Ma's within us.
Yes.
And among us, I would say,
Yes.
a lot of Jack Ma's. But
Yes.
they will never get the opportunity because of this kind of a setup that we have built.
Yes, yes. So when we see that, your result decides everything, whether you will get into a good college, whether you will get into even a good company, if I may say so. Because when companies are shortlisting the candidates, they are also looking at the results. So they want to pick up the top 5 or top 10 candidates. They want to interview the top 5 or top 10 candidates. Now, out of these top 10 candidates, maybe 30 to 40% have mugged up things and just wrote that thing in their answer script. So result is not the true reflection of your ideas. It is not the true reflection of your understanding. It's not the true reflection of your ability to interplay with different levels of knowledge, different domains of knowledge. You may be very good at a technical course, you may not be that good at in other courses. So result is just a passport or a boarding pass for you to get into the aircraft. After that you have to perform. After that you have to deliver. If you don't deliver, you don't survive. So the corporate world, in your corporate world journey, you have to continuously deliver. So sustained delivery will make you probably will make you the fittest person. If not the fittest person, one of the persons who is fit enough to survive in the industry. This is very unfortunate that first you are getting shortlisted on the basis of your result. And when this shortlisting is happening, on screening is happening, a lot of brilliant minds are getting rejected,
True.
eliminated. It's never selection, it's always elimination. So a lot of brilliant minds are getting eliminated. And we in India, we don't have good incubation setup, incubation facilities,
True.
wherein these brilliant minds, irrespective of their results, are given the opportunity to experiment with their ideas. If that is properly funded, we can see a lot of startups may come up. And the process has started. We can see in India is moving forward. A lot of startups are coming. And if we do further analysis, we will be able to see that degree doesn't matter. Their alma mater doesn't matter. What matters is their ability to think much ahead of their time. Their ability to come up with a differentiating idea which others are unable to think of. If even they are thinking of, they are unable to execute it. So our education system should encourage the students to experiment with their knowledge, their information base, and it should instigate or facilitate or encourage their risk appetite to come out. Because these are the qualities of entrepreneurs. The world should be ruled by the entrepreneurs and will be ruled by the entrepreneurs, provided we encourage these young minds to come up with brilliant ideas, and it's okay to fail.
That's the most important thing that we seldom tell them. That
Yes.
It's okay to fail.
It's okay to fail. Because failure is the pillar of success. When Thomas Edison, he found that his factory is at a blaze, right? His son came running and his son found that he was smiling. And when his son asked, "Dad, have you lost your mind? Why are you smiling?" With a smile, he replied that, see, all our mistakes are gone. Right?
That's the positive one.
That's the positivity. So it's okay if you fail, because if you fail, you learn a lot. So we should create such an ambience, such a culture, not only in your family, not only in your academic setup, but as a country, that it's okay to fail. Come on, do it again and just check, learn from it, and execute it, so that children are courageous enough. Their risk appetite is getting enhanced, and they have got a free mind. Freedom is free.
True.
Right? Yeah.
And that's a very good insight that you have given about this. And coming to this point, like just to expand on this, you've spoken about the academy, you've spoken about the society and how we do it. In terms of corporate culture, like let's say if you have a choice today and you want to change the corporate culture, what one thing you would have eliminated if you have given the choice to do it from scratch?
It's very difficult. It's very difficult. I don't belong to the corporate world, and it will be my audacity to come up with a single line answer to this. But what I would try to eliminate is fear of performance or fear of performing, right? You should have a free mind. You know your work, you know your task, you are accountable, you are responsible, everything is fine. But take the ownership. And don't be scared, don't be afraid of losing your job. If your boss doesn't like, in most of the cases, we find that if your boss doesn't like you, your job is eliminated. It's not that if your boss doesn't like your work.
True.
Correct. So we should create a culture wherein everybody is feeling free in taking up challenges very bravely. And, ultimately, if sometimes they are making mistake, the boss is there with his open heart, and he is readily accepting, yes, this is my fault. This is not his fault. So this kind of an encouraging culture, if that is there in the industry, I think people will be able to contribute much more than in an environment wherein they are feeling suffocated. So that thing I would like to change.
You have spoken about corporate, you have spoken about your academics and everything, how it should be. So if I talk about the students part, like when every student comes in, and what is that thing that you feel that they should make the change so that they can go and survive in the industry or grow in the industry? It could be in terms of their job, it could be in terms of being an entrepreneur. So what is the one thing that they should, not one thing, but what are the things that they should change?
So I'll talk about a couple of things. Number one is interactive skill. Very, very important, because if you don't interact, you don't survive. That's what I believe. Better interaction leads to better implementation. Another is out of the box thinking. That will act as a difference creator, which will differentiate you from others. So if you don't possess something which others are not possessing or acquiring right at this moment, then probably your risk for elimination is reduced to a great extent. So I believe these are the two very prominent skills. Apart from this, several other skills are there, and that requires a lot of discussion.
Yes, and that's true. It's like a rabbit hole. You go in and you can speak about this. So coming to the next part, like you have written a couple of books. You have been an author and you have written a couple of books. What motivated you to write those books? Because these are more into HR analytics, your managerial competency and all this thing. So what was the motivation?
So to answer to this question, I must acknowledge the contribution of my Praxis Business School.
Okay.
When I got into Praxis Business School in the year 2019, I knew nothing about HR analytics. When I got into Praxis Business School, I found that the learning atmosphere or the environment is predominantly being ruled by data science and analytics. We have the best of the brains and the best of the professors. So I was kind of, if I may say so, suffering from inferiority complex. So I took it up as a challenge, and my seniors, they encouraged me a lot. I acquired this HR analytics skill set, and I explored this domain. And ultimately, whatever knowledge I could gather, I just thought of sharing that knowledge with my student fraternity. And that kind of motivated me to come up with a book. So my first book was on human resources analytics for business managers.
Okay.
For the sake of only writing the book, I didn't write the book. I wanted to make it absolutely application oriented. So in the book, I have given a lot of data sets, and I have depicted how these sort of data sets are given. If these sort of data sets are given, what sort of measures you can come up with. So at least 100 HR metrics I have discussed there. I have discussed a lot of machine learning tools that can be applied in handling different HR issues.
Oh.
And that got published by Cambridge Scholars Publishing. That's the UK version. So that was not that accessible to my students because it is very high priced. So I thought of coming up with a revised version of that book, which got published by Pothi, and it is titled as HR Analytics, which is the Indian version, more or less, but with one or two additional chapters like AI in HR. So that book got published in 2025, in the beginning of 2025, if I'm not wrong. And then I published another book on competency mapping. The book is titled as Competency Mastery, Framework, Mapping and Assessment. First of all, we need to have the competency framework. That is the list of relevant competencies the organization needs to focus on. And then, of course, mapping, how these lists of competencies can be mapped to different job roles, and thereby that can be used for assessment of competencies, to what level the employees are actually possessing that competencies, to do the gap analysis, and with further training interventions, those gaps can be reduced. This book is also having a competency glossary, wherein some 100 competencies I have defined. And I have divided each and every competency into 5 level statements that is based on PCMM framework. Okay. I'm sure you are very well aware of that. People Capability Maturity Model.
Yeah.
And then benchmarking the competencies.
Got it.
And that requires the perspective of the industry experts. So that was my PhD research topic. My PhD degree was awarded in 2009, so it took some 16 years for me to come up with a competency book. Anyhow, ultimately I could do that. And at present, I'm working on 2 more books. One is Attitude and Motivation through Storytelling.
Okay.
And another is related to academic compliance.
That's wonderful. That's really good to know that you're still into writing and you're thinking of this.
Yes.
So coming to this point, as you spoke about this attitude and storytelling in writing. So if I think on those terms, like, because everything has attitude in this, like in today's generation, you have your students who come, these are all Gen Zs and all. So they have that attitude, right? Attitude of instant gratification, that they need things right now.
So you must have heard of Tapon Sinha. Tapon Sinha is a very famous Bengali director. He wonderfully came up with a movie titled Ekhoni. So that's the problem of the then young generation. Jeta chai, ekhoni chai. And as you have very rightly said, je ekhoni shei reward ta chai. If I'm successful now, I need the reward now. তো আমি যদি একটা গাছ এখনই পুঁতি আমি এখনই ফলটা চাই। বাট there is a famous proverb that man proposes, God disposes.
Correct.
Life takes its own course. What you plan, it may not work. তো সেইটুকু সময় তো জীবনকে দিতে হবে।
True.
সময়টুকু যদি না দেওয়া হয়, সময় একটা ভীষণ ইন্টারেস্টিং ডাইমেনশন, অ্যান্ড সময় টাইম ইজ কনসিডার্ড অ্যাজ দ্য থার্ড ডাইমেনশন, থার্ড আই, কাইন্ড অফ থার্ড আই, ত্রিনয়ন,
Correct.
থার্ড আই। তো the perception of time is a very very important part. টাইম সম্পর্কে ধারণাটা কি, টাইমের পারসেপশনটা কি? আমাকে যদি ক্লাসে আমার পৌঁছানোর কথা 9টায়, সকাল 9টায়, আমার বায়োলজিক্যাল ক্লকে আমি সেটা সেট আপ করবো যে আমি পৌঁছে যাব 8:45, 8:45। আমি কখনোই সেটাকে 9:15 করব না। তো এই জিনিসটা একটা ভীষণ ভীষণ ইম্পর্টেন্ট, টাইমলিনেস। দ্যাট ইজ আ ওয়ান্ডারফুল ডিফারেন্স ক্রিয়েটর। আমরা জানি যে অমিতাভ বচ্চন, whatever is the situation, he reaches the venue or the studio or the shooting hall on time, always, if not before time. So that makes him Amitabh Bachchan. That is one of the facets of his success. ভীষণ ইম্পর্টেন্ট। আর স্ট্রেস তো মানে সবার আছে এখন। স্ট্রেস ইজ অলসো আ ভেরি ভেরি ইম্পর্টেন্ট ফ্যাক্টর। স্ট্রেসটাকে কিভাবে হ্যান্ডেল করা যায়, কিভাবে ম্যানেজ করা যায়, এটাও ইয়াং জেনারেশনকে শিখতে হবে।
তো আপনি যখন স্ট্রেসের কথাটা বললেন, সো উই হ্যাভ সিন মানে স্ট্রেস আজকাল অনেক ইয়াং জেনারেশনের মধ্যে আমরা দেখছি যেটা আমাদের মধ্যে ছিল না, মানে ও উই নেভার নিউ অ্যাবাউট ইট, ওয়াজ লট অফ স্ট্রেস, লট অফ ডিপ্রেশন, অনেক লোক ডিপ্রেশনে ভুগছে। সো হাউ ডু ইউ থিঙ্ক দ্যাট এই জেনারেশন উইথ সো মাচ অফ কম্পিটিটিভনেস অ্যান্ড সো মাচ অফ লাইক আই উড সে ইনফ্লুয়েন্স অফ সোশ্যাল মিডিয়া অ্যান্ড সো মাচ অফ এক্সটার্নাল প্রেশার, ওরা কিভাবে নিজেকে মেনটেন করতে পারে? মানে হোয়াট ইজ দ্য ওয়ে টু সার্ভাইভ দিস?
I think every child should have a creative hobby.
Very good.
Every child. Be it music, be it sports, be it any other hobby. Every child should have a creative hobby. Why I'm telling you this, if you talk about music, music can act as a wonderful therapy. And music is your lifelong friend. When you are depressed, you can listen to music. When you are very happy, you can listen to music. So music changes your mood. Music changes your mindset. Music can be seriously taken up as a therapy. And music can reduce your stress level to a great extent. I'm a music lover. So irrespective of my level of mood or irrespective of my type of mood, I love to listen to music, any type of music that leads to some sort of creation, because creation gives you pleasure. Pleasure changes your mindset. So to control your stress, all of us are having kids. I would suggest that each and every child should have a creative hobby.
I think that's a very good thing that you have said, that having a creative hobby actually focuses and gives, and you have a channel of energy. Means, I would say not channel, but you have a way to channelize your energy.
Very, very rightly said, because life is all about a portfolio.
Correct.
Right? In some part you are lagging and in some part you are doing very well. So if you have got a creative hobby, say you sing very well, then you are taking the essence from there, you are taking the positivity from there, and you are not that good at studies, so you are just pouring some of the positivities in that part. We know BCG matrix, right?
Correct.
So it's like that. Life is all about a portfolio. So to strike a balance between in your portfolio, I think any sort of creative hobby will definitely help you out and reduce your stress to a great extent.
Absolutely. I think you hit the nail in the coffin, actually, where it mattered, because it is very important in today's term, and it really helps. As you said, you love music, and in the last episode you've spoken about Rabindranath Sangeet, and অনেক কিছু আপনি মানে কবিগুরুর ব্যাপারে বলেছেন, মানে the way he used to think and how much influence it has happened in your life.
Yes.
So I think this is really important even for us and as the next generation and everyone to understand that creative awareness, like that hobby, that awareness is very important, as not only as someone who's doing it, but even as parents. That
Absolutely.
are we pushing our kids to that direction?
Yes.
I think it's a very, very good question. Which is one belief that you had in people and organization 20 years back that it no longer exists today?
Okay, one belief could be like demarcation between employers and employee.
Okay. And
Yeah, I no longer believe in that because everybody is contributing. So everybody should be equally respected, irrespective of their level.
correct. That is your empathy part comes into picture. Like it's the
Absolutely.
most important thing.
Absolutely.
And you believe that this does not exist today.
I don't think so. I no longer believe in that.
Okay.
That demarcation.
Should be. Now that's a good, very, very good thought. As a leader or as someone who's advocating this, I think that's the mindset that we should
Yes.
bring in. Very good. And coming to the, I would say the last question that I have is that you have done so many things, starting from your career and then moving to academics and doing so many contributions, writing books, contributing, author, speaker, motivator, everything. So if you had to start from the beginning today, what one thing that you would have advised yourself to do differently?
Okay. So one thing that I would have advised myself to do differently or to manage situations differently would be better emotional balance. I'm an emotional person. And emotional person, and I'm not saying that being an emotional person is wrong, because unless you are an emotional person, you are not passionate. If you are not passionate, you are not creative. But you have to have different understanding. I mean, understanding of different types of emotions. Like what do you mean by emotions at workplace, and what do you mean by emotions in your family?
Correct.
Correct? You just can't mess up these two.
That's true.
Right. I was very young when I joined the corporate world. So initially, it was very difficult for me as an executive HR to manage my emotions when I was kind of doing something which is my mind is not prepared with. So I would advise to myself that আমাকে যদি এখন 20 বছরের একজন তরুণী নিজেকে ভাবতে হয় এবং আমি নিজেকে অ্যাডভাইস করতে চাইছি, তাহলে আমি আমার ইমোশনটাকে বেটার ব্যালেন্স করে, বেটার কন্ট্রোল করে, সিচুয়েশনাল রিকোয়ারমেন্ট অনুযায়ী আমার ইমোশনের ডেডিকেশন হবে, এটাই আমি অ্যাডভাইস করবো নিজেকে।
Wow. So basically situational awareness টা যাচাই করে মানে
Analyze the situation and then come up with your emotions to the extent it is required.
খুব ভালো লাগলো আজকে এই আলাপটা করে। And I think it was a very, very good, insightful conversations that we had.
Thank you.
And looking forward to much more, because I definitely know that in the last episode, the people who have watched it, there was a lot of request about this. And I think we have really gathered a lot of details, in the sense, a lot of insight about what we have, how the industry is, how your journey has been, how things are. So once again, thank you so much. We really had a very, very good conversation today.
Same here. Yeah,
And
absolutely.
thank you once again for coming to Bridging Ideas. It's a pleasure to host you.
Thank you so much, Shujoy. I'm so happy because it was such a wonderful discussion. And I wish all the very best to Bridging Ideas. And I wish that Bridging Ideas excel like anything. It
Thank you.
reaches each and every house of the country, and if not the country, to the globe.
Thank you so much.
very much.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you. Take a moment and reflect on this conversation, because sometimes one idea is all it takes to change everything.